Somehow, out of nowhere, Zen went from being one of the worst supports that you could play in a game of Overwatch to being one of the hardest carry characters in the entire game. Due to seemingly minor changes to the Overwatch tanks, Shield Break is now one of the strongest strategies you can play, and Zen plays directly into that. On top of that, at most ranks, Zen can have tons of solo impact if you play him correctly, and honestly, he's probably the hardest carry support altogether, with high levels of needed positioning knowledge and high levels of mechanical capacity. That being said, GameLeap has you covered with the Zen Ultimate Guide that can get you caught up to speed on how to master Zen as quickly as possible. With all that being said, let's just jump right into it, shall we? Now, the first thing that you might be wondering is why Zenyatta is so powerful. We're gonna break down his kit in a little bit, but first, let me explain why Zenyatta is so powerful now compared to what he has been in the past. Zen used to be incredibly powerful in old metas, but because of a lot of different changes to Overwatch, Zenyatta really didn't see the limelight that he should have. This is because of how strong shields were. Zenyatta's Discord and Harmony Orb need line of sight, and a lot of his damage can get completely shut out in the face of never breaking shields. That being said, with some of these big shield nerfs, Zenyatta is perfect to try to push through those breakpoints and actually break the shields down. This is why the support duo of Zen and Baptiste are the best in the meta right now, because they're the best at actually contributing to that shield break. They provide tons of additional utility, but the fact that both of your supports can add a giant chunk of damage to the shields and help you break key shield focal points means that you can win fights that much more convincingly. Now, what's important to understand that within that context, Zen is not only extremely powerful, but Zen is now a staple in the meta. On top of that, with these current changes, not only is Zen powerful in the current meta, but he's actually powerful in the ranked meta altogether. Zen was already a solo carry god against random team compositions in ranked, and now he's much more viable. When playing him in dive, when playing him in meta shield comps, or when playing him in 6 character randomness that you find in ranked sometimes, Zen can have the highest pound for pound impact, and he can carry from the support role in a way that almost no other support can. To help you understand how to do this, firstly in this guide, we're going to break down each and every part of Zen's kit and how you can have maximum impact out of each and every bit of it. Then we're going to tell you Zen's playstyles and how to play Zen in the meta, play Zen in off meta, or what you're supposed to be doing altogether. And then we're going to break down positioning on Zen and the best Zen combos so you can have the solid fundamentals on Zen that will transition you through meta and have you popping off over and over again. Now, before we get to that, you know how else to pop off over and over again in each and every one of your games? GameLeap.com. GameLeap.com is the one-stop shop for in-depth guides that you won't find anywhere. We have Grandmaster coaches investing hundreds of hours a week just to bring you the most up-to-date and highest quality content. I'm gonna keep this short and sweet, so if you want to learn more, check it out in the end of the video, but for now, enjoy the Zen Ultimate Guide. Now let's jump right into Zenyatta's kit. Firstly, let's talk about his primary, Orb of Destruction. Now, Orb of Destruction does 48 damage regularly, with a 96 damage on a headshot. This is quite a lot of damage for support, and we haven't even got to the best part. We're gonna break down Orb of Discord later, but what you should know now is Orb of Discord adds 25% damage to the overall damage a target takes. Now, this changes the overall damage of Zen's primary weapon from a 60 damage body shot to a whopping 120 damage headshot with Discord. This means that if a 200 HP squishy is discorded, Zenyatta can easily 2-tap them with headshots. This is incredibly powerful because with Zen's kit, he can not only duel enemy squishies, he can output tons of damage to the shields as well. Now, the biggest thing we need to talk about with Zen's Orb of Destruction is there's actually 2 ways to fire it. This is the regular way, where it's a steady stream of damage, and there's the volley way, which you could charge up and release a volley of Orb of Destructions that can try and have giant amounts of burst damage. Now, before we break down how to use primary versus volley, let's first break down exactly how to use volley for the maximum effectiveness. Firstly, volley can be an extremely powerful way to try to get picks pre-fight or put in tons of damage. Volley gets to charge up while you're behind natural cover, and you can peek at the exact last moment, aim at head level down choke points, and sometimes you could snipe a squishy and get a free kill. Because of just how much damage it does, you can actually burst down whole squishies from full health, as long as you get some number of Orb of Destructions in the enemy's head. Being able to get a pre-fight pick while the enemy team is in position to try to push in is so powerful, because from the support position, you can add all that utility, build ult charge, and prevent the enemy from pushing in altogether. Let's go back to the first question we talked about, when to use primary Orb of Destruction versus volley Orb of Destruction. When the enemy team is setting up pre-fight or before they push in, using the volley method is usually fine. You could put in tons of burst damage, try to get picks, build up ultimate charge, and put a lot of pressure on the enemy team with burst fire. That being said, overall, because of the time to reload and the time to charge up, the volley is actually less overall DPS. This is important to understand because when you're just trying to break shields, fight in the mid-fight, do damage to tanks, and build ultimate charge, using your regular primary Orb of Discord is usually better. That being said, there's tons of opportunities for you pre-fight or when you're from safe positioning to try to get off these cheeky little volleys that can get you tons of impact. Another thing you could do is whenever you're trying to change positionings, you could start charging up a volley so that you can let a volley go after you peek at a natural cover. This is a way that you can also prevent people from pushing you. If you're ever getting chased down, you can start charging up a volley, so if the enemy team tries to push you, you could try to get an easy pick and turn the tables on somebody. In a nutshell, volley has less overall DPS over time and makes you not contribute to the mid fight as much, but it has more pick and burst potential. So you really need to weigh when and where you should use each one and take some of the things I talked about into consideration when deciding when to use regular primary versus volley. Now let's move on to the other aspects of Zen's kit. Firstly is Heal Orb. Healing is 30 per second, so really it's not that much, but it could still be valuable if you use it correctly. Just like with Discord, what we'll talk about in a little bit, if you leave LOS, the Heal Orb will come back to Zenyatta within 3 seconds. The biggest question that I get when talking about Zenyatta is who should you Heal Orb? Now there's some specific strengths to Heal Orb that other heals can't replicate, but first let's talk about in a regular fight, who should you primarily Heal Orb? Pre-fight, before you start the fight, the person you want to Heal Orb the most is the person that's most likely to take damage instantly. Let's say you have someone like Reinhardt. What you want to do is put your orb on the Rein because the Rein is the one that's going to take the most amount of damage early. You can always change who your heal orb is on at a moment's notice, but what you want to do is give your main tank the ability to go in more confidently because they're getting slight heals, put less pressure on your other healer so they don't have to constantly top a tank up, and you're going to be building precious ult charge in the meantime. That being said, after the fight starts, there are tons of targets that you need to heal and that you should be actively looking to heal. Any flankers, Zenyatta can heal easily because of just how easy it is for him to throw a heal orb on them. Even at the bare minimum, which is instantly breaking LOS and healing for only 90, can honestly be full HP for something like a Tracer or a Genji. This means after these characters take healing, you should actively be looking to heal them and allow them to take aggressive positioning because you can heal them from across the map in a way that no other healer can without mechanical competency. Heal Orb also follows them around, so you can throw it on a flanker and then go right back to dealing raw damage like you want to in the first place. This means there's less downtime and you're not someone like Ana who has to constantly be scoping in on your divers and tunnel visioning them without contributing anything to the fight. Last but not least, another safe bet is to Heal Orb your other support. This is particularly important when there's someone like Baptiste or Ana who have to use abilities or resources to heal themselves. As long as you keep these people topped up and don't allow them to get picked, they could still contribute that giant source of healing. One of the important things to understand about Zen is while he applies a ton of utility in the form of damage, shield break, and transcendence, he cannot massively heal the team in the same way that a Baptiste, an Ana, or a Mora can. If you allow your other support to get killed, honestly, your overall sustain is going to be low, and eventually, over time, the enemy is going to overwhelm you, and you're not going to be able to sustain your team and keep them up to full health. This is why it's also your priority to peel for your allies, make sure that they have heal when they need it, and really keep in mind when enemy teams are actively looking to punish them so that you can keep them alive and you can heal them up and keep them alive with Heal Orb. Now let's move on to Discord. I talked about it a little bit in the past, but Discord is one of Zenyatta's most powerful abilities, so I really need to break this down so you know exactly what you need to do to have the highest amount of impact on Discord. So firstly, Discord is very similar to Harmony Orb. If you lose LOS, it only lasts for 3 seconds before it comes back to Zenyatta, and it adds plus 25% damage received. Now you might be thinking 25% is not that much, but honestly, it's incredibly powerful. The thing about Discord is it's not like Mercy Bluebeam in the fact that it only amplifies the damage of one person. It amplifies the damage for your entire team. The enemy main tank taking plus 25% more damage means that they can get bursted down that much faster. Coupled with team focus fire, that tank could instantly explode before the enemy team has any way to heal them up to max health. Now, in order to get the maximum value out of Discord, there's several things that you need to do. Firstly, you need to call your Discords. If you Discord a target, you really need to call it out to your team so that they all know to focus it down. I know it shows some visual representation, but your team knowing who to Discord and you calling it can allow them to focus fire even with all the chaos happening in ranked environments. Now, the next thing you need to know is who to Discord. And to this, I would generally say the primary target and the primary damage taker on the enemy team. Let's go back to the Rein example, and the enemy team has a Rein, and so do you. The best Discord target is usually the enemy's Reinhardt. Why, you might ask? Well, the fact of the matter is, everyone is trying to focus the Rein as quickly as possible. The more pressure that's on that Reinhardt, the more passive he has to play, and the more potential he has of getting picked. If the main tank dies, it frees up Zen immensely because there's no shields to block LOS, and there's no shields to block his primary source of damage. This also allows you to instantly burst down a main tank. Let's say you Discord someone like a Rein, and you call the Discord. A Fire Strike plus a Hanzo headshot plus a Zen volley can instantly delete the Rhine before the supports have any chance to actually heal the Rhine up. This is why discording the main tanks in the pre or entry fight can be the best way to have the most impact and actually destroy the main tank to allow your team to push in and take all that space. Now next up is things that are actively trying to dive you or duel you. If you get dived by a monkey, dived by a tracer, those are definitely sources that you need to discord as quickly as possible, because you not only want to improve the damage that you do on them personally, but the damage that your allies who are trying to peel for you do to them. This means you burst down the enemy tracer just before they clip you, or you put enough pressure on the monkey to where the monkey has to either retreat or dies altogether. Now, how you use Discord in a traditional comp is vastly different from how you use Discord in Dive, but I'm going to break that down a little bit later. For now, let's move on to the last ability on Zen's kit, Transcendence. Now, Transcendence does 300 HP per second in overall heals, which could be a lot of heals and can actually protect your team against really powerful ultimates such as Graviton Surge or Gravitic Flux. It lasts a total of 6 seconds and it gives Zen increased movement. Now, in order to get the most impact out of Transcendence, there's several things you need to think about. Firstly, even though Zenyatta has increased movement while in Transcendence, that doesn't mean you'll be able to get to your allies instantly. It's not the same as something like Lucio B that can affect a long range. You have to actually physically get to your allies in order to heal them. This means if you activate Transcendence too late, your allies could be killed in the process, and then you end up healing up nothing only to waste your ult and die right afterwards because you have no support from the allies that you were trying to save. This means you really need to think about travel time before you activate Transcendence, and honestly, if you can't save the targets that you're trying to save and you don't save the people you had the intent to save, you shouldn't invest Transcendence at all and just save it for a later fight. Another thing is, even though Transcendence lasts for 6 seconds, if the fight isn't convincingly won by the end of the 6 seconds, you want to use the last bit of the seconds on Transcendence to actually reposition yourself. You don't want to be right in the middle of the enemy backline with your Transcendence healing your one Reinhardt, because when the Transcendence ends, you're going to be like a fish out of water and the enemy are going to collapse on you. What you want to be able to do is use the last seconds of invulnerability plus increased movement in order to reposition yourself and get to a place where you're actually safe. Another thing you need to think about when activating Transcendence is what can kill through it. If you're stuck in a Graviton, does the enemy team have something like Nade or maybe a one-shot like Hanzo or Widow? Maybe those are things where you need to think twice before activating it. For example, if you have 2 squishies in the Graviton and you go in it with Transcendence, but the enemy has a Widow and you have no shield, maybe it's not correct to invest Transcendence at all, because the Widow can do 2 easy headshots, kill your squishies, and you get no value out of it. Maybe that dynamic changes if you have a Reinhardt that can have a shield up to block those type of headshots, but you really need to think about the full picture before you invest Transcendence. And then the last thing is, should you invest Transcendence? Is the fight already lost? Will the Transcendence actually get enough value to turn the fight? Maybe you should save it because the enemy team is sandbagging something like Grav or Gravitic Flux in order to win the preceding team fight. Maybe you need to save it from that because you could gamble, sure, on a 50-50 chance of this Transcendence here winning this team fight for you. But if you invest now, lose the team fight, the next team fight will be an automatic loss because you don't have Transcendence for the enemy's big ultimates that you know they have. This means that this one risky gambling decision of whether or not to invest Transcendence in the current fight could actually lose you multiple fights down the road and might even lose you the whole game altogether. So you really need to be thinking about, is it worth it to invest Transcendence? What is the likelihood of me actually using it to win the fight? What's the impact I'll get out of it? And what are the downsides if things go poorly? While we only covered how to maximize each and every aspect of Zen's kit, we haven't even dug into the different things you can do on Zen, including how to play him in different team comps, how to play him with dive, shield comp, positioning on Zen, and when to flank on Zen, including the best combos. That being said, if you want to see a guide breaking down things like positioning on Zen or how to flank on Zen, smash that like button and let me know in the comments down below so that I'll know that there's interest in me creating these type of guides for you so that you know exactly when and where to position and how to pop off with this insanely impactful J-Jonex style flanks on Zen, as well as the combos and all that other aspects. Just let me know in the comments down below and smash that like button. I would really appreciate it. Now, if you can't wait for more Zenyatta content and you need to know right now while Zen is one of the best supports to play in the entire game, come check out GameLeap.com. I mentioned it before, but I wouldn't suggest it to you if I didn't think it would actually help you immensely. While there's free guides you can find all over the place, many of them are filled with inadequate information and they're not created by Grandmaster coaches that ensures that you have the most quality guides available. If you want to get the leg up on your competition and improve on Zen or any other character as quickly as possible, come check out GameLeap.com, and you don't have to take my word for it. GameLeap.com offers a 10-day money-back guarantee, so come check us out risk-free, and I hope to see you there. Anyways, that's all I have for you today. I know I cut this guide a little bit short, but frankly, there's so much to talk about Zen that I feel like I jam-packed too much content in the first part, But if you want to see the other parts, do what I said before. Let me know in the comments down below, and I'll be sure to make follow-up Zen videos because I know Zen is a hot commodity right now, and I want to make sure each and every one of you at GameLeap has the leg up on your competition, has the leg up on players in ranked, so that you know that you're part of the best community, the most exclusive community that will consistently be the best players on ladder, that will have the most positive attitude and win the most games. Everyone wants to have a GameLeap subscriber on their team. Anyways, any questions, please leave them in the comments down below. I'm Coach Mills, and until next time.